It is Super Tuesday presented by KFC here in the Big Ten. Michigan and Purdue, two teams in the upper half of the conference, set to battle on Gene Cady Court here at Mackey Arena. Dan Donkich, how about the one-on-one here tonight?
Well, it's Michigan on the road and Purdue at home. Michigan, it says 1-4 in true road tests, but the reality of that was in the Palace at Auburn Hills, a neutral site, in my opinion, against Oakland. You see what Purdue has done, 27 of the last 28. Wisconsin came in here and broke Purdue's 26-game winning streak. They came back against Iowa, but Michigan, who starts this streak right now, 4 of 5 on the road, to be a contender, they have to play well on the road.
Michigan coming off a 2-point loss at Arkansas. They were down 20 early. Third straight game, they'll go with Burke and Hardaway and Stu Douglas in the lineup. Zach Novak sliding up to the 4 spot. And the sophomore Jordan Morgan coming off one of his better games of the year in Fayetteville on Saturday. Meantime, Purdue blown out in East Lansing with the 3 seniors, Lewis Jackson, Ryan Smith, and Robbie Hummel. And of course, Hummel's the focus. He was 0 for 11 in that game. In his Purdue career, he's never had a game, 112 games, where he didn't hit a field goal. How early can he snap out of it would be huge for Hummel and for Purdue here tonight.
Yeah, I just think if you're Matt Painter and Purdue, you get him the ball either on the block, you get him the ball in the mid-post area, and you tell him, look, go to the rim, get fouled, make them miss, you're still our guy, don't worry about it, let's go.
Matt Driscoll, Lamont Simpson, Paul Jansen. Our officials, Lamont Simpson will send it up here in the center circle. 6 in a row for Purdue over Michigan here in Mackey Arena. And the Wolverines in the blue with the Mays numbers get started with Trey Burke, Conference Freshman of the Year again this week. Here's Hardaway, who's been off to slow starts over the last couple of games. And the Indiana native Novak with the clock down to 12. It's Burke. Getting all the attention off the leg of Travis Carroll, 7 to shoot. There's Matt Painter, former Purdue guard, 7th year here, 152 wins. Nothing going on, clock at 2, it'll be Hardaway with a force. And the first rebound of the game pulled down by Ryan Smith.
Well, that's exactly what Matt Painter wanted. At home, you have to establish yourself defensively. Purdue has always done that under Gene Cady, and now Matt Painter. That's a terrific possession for Purdue. Yeah, you just got to throw it in there, Mike.
Hummel comes to see the double. He's got the size advantage over Novak. That's been said a lot about Novak over his Michigan career. 10 on the shot here. Inside, the offensive foul is drawn by Burke, as it's going to be whistled on Tyrone Johnson.
Well, Tyrone Johnson made a nice move, really quick move to the baseline, but you're going to see Trey Burke come outside of the arc, establish himself with 2 feet. Trey Burke, one of the best freshmen in the country. He was terrific late against Arkansas, had a 3 to win it, just went in and out. But down the stretch, he has been fantastic in every game this year.
17 points a game, Dan, his last 5, and Lewis Jackson gets underneath, and the 5'9" guard picks up his first foul. John Beilein, of course, disappointed with the start. Arkansas opened 11 of 11 from the field, but really glad the way his team came back against a fast, up-tempo team. Not what he normally sees in the Big Ten. You think it was a pretty good test for Michigan?
I think it was a great test. A different team. It sped Michigan up a little bit, but you know what? Throughout the course of the entire game, even though they were down 20, they stayed with their stuff, and I think they grew up in that game.
Novak and Stu Douglas, 0 and 1, both Indiana natives, as you know from watching the league over the last 4 years. These guys have been in it. Shot clock at 10, and Douglas, good quick release to get the game's first basket.
Boy, that's the best move I've seen Stu Douglas maybe making his career. Put a little hesitation, a little Steve Smith, little fake spin move, went up and banked it in.
He struggled in Fayetteville, 2 of 10 from the field on Saturday, and his quick hands lead to a 3-on-2. Hardaway to the basket, and a foul, so a chance for a 3-point play.
Mike, I'm telling you, you never see this out of Purdue. particularly out of Ryan Smith. Ryan Smith is one of the best transition defenders in the country. You're going to see the steal here. Usually you see 24. He sprints back to the rim normally. This time he turns and jogs. You never see that out of Purdue. Robbie Hummel and Ryan Smith just reaching. I'm telling you, there is no better player in transition defense than Ryan Smith.
And Tim Hardaway, senior, a fixture at Michigan games during the couple of years that Tim Jr.'s made the trip from Miami up to Ann Arbor. Trying to hit it. Carroll inside. That's 3 turnovers in the first 2:21 for Matt Painter's team.
Well, one of the reasons Tyrone Johnson, you see Matt Painter talking to him there, he's starting in place of Barlow, is because Tyrone Johnson had come off the bench, protected the ball, and scored some points. But 2 straight possessions, one a charge and one to throw it to the band, defeating the purpose of starting.
First start of the year for the sophomore from Indianapolis, as Barlow, the junior, had started all but 1 game this year. Jordan Morgan inside, the only Wolverine in there battling for it, and he loses it out of bounds. There is Barlow at a Catholic high school in Indianapolis. He's scored in double figures 4 of his last 8 games, but just a wrinkle here from Painter.
Yeah, he's had a problem finishing. 2 games ago against Iowa, he took the ball to the basket and did really good things, but just couldn't get it in the basket. It was the same thing at Michigan State. And then I think Barlow got a little frustrated with the game was going, and Matt has a handle on him. That's a pretty good handle on Kelsey.
Michigan runs its 1-3-1 defense, and Purdue is ready for it. Will slip inside. Travis Carroll breaks the seal for the Boilermakers.
Yeah, against the 1-3-1, you either drive it from the top to the elbow or you get to the elbow. Hummel was at the elbow, and when you get the ball at the elbow, you look high-low, and Carroll was there.
Burke off the wing on the smaller Jackson. Going to try to take him inside here tonight. Off the mark, and here comes Ryan Smith back the other way. So first 3 possessions, 3 Purdue turnovers. Now Johnson hits a 3.
Well, Tyrone Johnson, not really a three-point shooter, 28%. But you know what? He looked good at Michigan State late in the game. He knocked in a 3 and looked really good there.
And he started for Barlow. You saw him take the pullover off. He's ready to come in. That shooting shirt. Burke again driving inside with the strong Jackson. And you can see Jackson not going to take anything here tonight. It'll be a good matchup to watch the freshman against the senior.
Now, sometimes Burke starts a little slow. He did it against Michigan State. He did against Arkansas. And then he comes on late once he gets a feel for the game. And by starting slow, he usually over-penetrates. And you've seen it twice in this game.
Jackson out. Anthony Johnson out of Chicago comes in. We always watch Lewis Jackson when he comes out because of his back. That's been bothering him throughout the season. Barlow coming off the bench for the 2nd time this year. He's off the mark. Hardaway comes to get it for the Wolverines.
Yeah, that's just playing in the Michigan scouting report. Don't guard Barlow.
Hardaway lost the handle, turned it over, and we have a timeout. 4:20 gone by. Purdue, slow start, 1-point lead over Beeline's team.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by KFC. Bring something different to the party with KFC sauceless hot wings, now just 50 cents each. And in part by Infinity, luxury cars that deliver inspired performance.
Early 1-point lead for Purdue. Michigan plays a 1-3-1 zone at times. Dan, show us how Purdue is ready for it tonight.
Well, Purdue did this very easily. It shouldn't be this easy, but it was. You're going to see Robbie Hummel right here, and you're going to see Travis Carroll here. He's going to work down on the block. The ball's going to go to Hummel. This is the area you want the ball to beat the 1-3-1, and you're going to see right down to Carroll. Now, from Purdue's side, that was great execution. When Michigan shows film to Hardaway Jr., it's going to be a bad scene for Hardaway Jr. because he did not come over ball side and show any toughness guarding Carroll.
And, Coach, when we were going to break, you saw John Beilein come right out and talk to Hardaway.
Yeah.
Wouldn't doubt that was the topic of conversation.
It had to be because the bottom guy just goes ball side and he goes quick. And then when a guy gets the ball against you, got to be tougher than just get knocked around. Now, 2-3 here, the ball should go into the middle after being swung a few times.
The corner, Anthony Johnson missed the 3. Stu Douglas the rebound. No changes from Michigan. Down 1 after scoring the first 4. Wolverines at 15-5, 5-2 in the league. First Big Ten game since a week ago tonight. Their thrilling one-point win in Ann Arbor over the Spartans. Jordan Morgan gave up his dribble, wanted the handoff to Burke. He slips back to the goal for two. Jordan Morgan coming off a 16.6 rebound effort against Arkansas.
He was great against Arkansas on that move and running the floor. He beat Arkansas down the floor, beat him to the rim. That time, just a little side ball screen, dive to the rim. Burke stayed low and found it.
Hummel hasn't taken a shot in the first 5:15 off the 0 for 11. He missed his last shot of the prior game, so he's missed 12 consecutive shots. About the last guy in college basketball you would believe we'd say that about. The clock at 5. Here is Barlow. He's short on both of his shots as a sub here tonight. It's out of bounds off Michigan. Stays down here with Purdue. Here's what we have lined up for you on the network tomorrow. We have Big East action with Villanova taking on Louisville. Kyle Carrick was out with that ankle injury but came back effective in the win over Pittsburgh. And then Duke in bounce-back mode off the loss at home to Florida State will take on Maryland. That's your Wednesday night hoop lineup presented by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. So Hummel will take a seat.
Well, this game has been terrific defense by Zach Novak. Zach Novak did a job a week ago. We were there. Draymond Green held him to 2 shots in the second half, and he's continued it here. He's played terrific all over Robbie Hummel early.
And he got fouled on the rebound action. DJ Bird, the junior, picks up the personal. His first. Let's talk about that Michigan State game. It was, and you and Dave O'Brien did it last Saturday in East Lansing. It was the travel nightmare of all nightmares for Hummel and Purdue. They only got in a couple hours before and never really got in the game. Michigan State took them out mid-first half on.
They did, but you know what was interesting? Even though they traveled and took off at 4 o'clock in the morning from Lafayette.
As Novak hits a 3.
They had energy to start the game, Purdue did. And Matt was substituting, bringing guys in and out. They just couldn't make a shot. And I'm telling you, more than anything else in basketball, when you miss shots, it drains you. And that's what happened to Purdue. And, but you got to give Michigan State credit. They were terrific throughout the last 30 minutes of the ball game.
Here's Ryan Smith, outstanding outside shooter. One of the best in the league, averages almost 3 threes made per game. At 7, DJ Bird's going to launch over Hardaway. And great job by Morgan clearing the glass for Douglas. The Michigan team scores about 69 points a game. They got into a more of an up-tempo game. They had to come back after Arkansas took a 20-point first-half lead on Saturday.
Well, 6 minutes ago, they're down 20, but you know what? They stayed with their stuff. This is a much more confident Michigan team, Mike.
Stu Douglas knocks down the 3, and it's a timeout for Purdue. So the 2 seniors from Indiana, Novak and Douglas, knock down back-to-back 3s. Purdue 2 of 7 from the field to open. They're down 7, and you're a little surprised.
Well, Mike, this is a dead environment, and Purdue's playing dead as well. I mean, you talk about it on the road for Michigan, an opportunity to get a win. This is it right here. Michigan is playing much more confident. Michigan looks more sure of themselves. Purdue looks a little unsure, particularly on the offensive end. They're just kind of running around instead of cutting hard and running what Matt works on. Purdue's going to have to get this straight. Now they're going to have a problem in their own building.
And they just lost the ball. Good double by Burke and Evan Smotrich, who just checked in.
And here's the other thing, Mike. When a guy makes a turnover like we just saw or a foul, nobody's talking to each other for Purdue. You've got 5 guys that are just walking down the floor, not paying attention or not picking up their teammate here early.
4 turnovers and 5 missed shots for the Boilermakers. 14-6. 10-1 in this building, only 1 loss. It's a good call. Travel on Burke.
It's a good call. It's one of the rare times you'll ever see Trey Burke get upright. He usually, like Jordan Taylor, plays really low, really quick, really strong, but coming off a handoff, he raised up. And when you raise up and try to go quick, mistakes happen.
Purdue's done, for the most part, a good job this year coming off of losses. They're 5-0 after a loss this season. After suffering their 6th setback of the year in East Lansing. John Hart, who gave them good offense late in garbage time with that 25-point loss at Michigan State, missed that one.
Michigan needs to swing the ball before this was their game plan. Swing it, get the ball moving before they go into this dribble stuff.
Evan Smotrich, who was a starter a good part of the year. Third game coming off the bench, trying to settle into that role. Good outside shooter is Smotrich. His confidence has gone south in the slump. With 7 to go, it's Douglas. Stu to the basket. Stu, Douglas. I'm telling you, they got the Big Ten tournament in Indianapolis, but for Douglas and Novak, these seniors, it's their last game in the state of Indiana in a regular season. I'm sure that inspires them tonight.
Yeah, and you're playing against a school that wouldn't recruit them.
That's right.
Because none of these kids, I was involved with Douglas's recruiting, none of these kids were recruited by Purdue or Indiana.
Desperately needed basket by Lewis Jackson. Ends a 5-minute scoreless run for the Boilermakers. Nice cut for Douglas inside, looking for the bump. Call on Bird, it's not there, and Purdue's back the other way. Hummel coming to the scorer's table to check in. Next time out, Hart out of the corner for 3. So here's John Hart, who has 24 points all year coming into tonight. 10 of them Saturday in East Lansing.
Well, he's battled foot problems. He's an explosive scorer. A couple years ago, he was a kid that wasn't in the book at Illinois. Ended up leading him to a victory with double digits in the second half. But those last 2 plays, Mike, were by Lewis Jackson. Lewis Jackson showed for the first time all day great energy.
Douglas was blocked. Morgan was not. Jordan with the putback, and Michigan leads by 6.
I'll tell you, the 2 kids that are playing great for Michigan last couple games, Jordan Morgan, Zach Novak on the defensive end, both of them are playing. And on the offensive side of things, Morgan's really come on.
Wow, that is 3 drives in a row by Jackson.
He's playing at a different level than the rest of his teammates, and you should never have that.
Oh, Trey Burke, who got beat, trying to make him pay, but another block inside, and a traveling violation called. So Purdue comes back with a little energy. Robbie Hummel will come in the next dead ball. When we come back, it seems like he's been around forever, doesn't it? We'll go back to when Robbie Hummel became a Boilermaker and all the things that were happening at that time. Robbie Hummel, no field goals last game, hasn't scored yet for Purdue. They trail by 4. He's checking back in. Seems like he's been around forever. Take you back to the summer of '06.
I've decided that for the next 4 years, I will be attending Purdue University, and you can be the guy or part of the class to turn Purdue around. So I mean, that's really exciting to me. I think. I mean, I'm really looking forward to that.
And Danny really was. Think about Gene Cady after his quarter century left. Matt Painter takes over 1 bad year and then starts recruiting. And Juwan Johnson, E'Twaun Moore, both with the Boston Celtics now. And Robbie Hummel, immediate impact as a freshman. One of the reasons, impact at a Big Ten school as a freshman, the ACL injuries. It feels like he's been around forever, but he's been such a part of the success for the Boilermakers.
Well, he has done exactly what he said in that interview, turned Purdue around. David T., Carl Landry had a nice year before they got here, but Matt Painter, when he was Gene Cady's assistant, he went and got those 2 guys, Johnson and Moore, along with Robbie Hummel, and got them to come. In-state kids, established that Purdue will recruit in-state, Northwest Indiana kids, and they've done exactly what Hummel said. They have turned Purdue around and made them a national team.
The 4th of that recruiting class is Scott Martin, who ended up going to Notre Dame.
And he was terrific. And that was a big loss for Purdue, particularly given the injuries that Hummel has suffered the last couple of years. That was a really big loss.
Ryan Smith rattled out the 3, but Hummel's one of those guys where if you're not watching the league night to night, you watch Big Ten games in the South or in the Northeast, you go, Robbie Hummel's still there?
Right.
It's because he had the big impact as a double-digit scorer as a freshman. And, of course, the knee injuries that have been documented over the last couple of years as inside Smotrich is tonight. So how long ago? When Hummel committed, that clip we just showed you, half the current Big Ten coaches weren't hired at their school. Oden and Connolly, the great kids at Ohio State, hadn't played a game in Columbus yet. Barack Obama was 18 months into being a U.S. Senator, and Twitter was introduced 2 days before the Hummel commitment to Purdue. So he didn't tweet out his commit, and nobody was hashtagging Hummel to West Lafayette.
No, so I heard somebody yell out one time, Hummel, you played with the big dog. In the early 80s, or early 90s, excuse me.
But Robbie's trying to come back from these knee injuries back-to-back.
People forget he had serious back problems 2 years ago. He was playing in a brace. People forget about that given the fact that he's battled from 2 ACLs. Battled back from 2 ACLs.
Hart looking for another one. Hit a 3 earlier. Missed that. The rebound by Novak from Michigan. With a 6-point edge past the halfway point of this first half. Hardaway with a lift. His three off the mark. Boy, his outside shooting has gone south. He is 1 of 17 on his last three-point attempts in 3.5 games.
Yeah, the ball comes out of his hand on his ring finger and his pinky finger. It doesn't come off the big three, which are your pointer finger, middle finger, and your ring finger. It comes off the side and spins like a globe.
Novak gets the rebound for the Wolverines. You were in a good offensive flow earlier, but they're not now.
How much good stuff does Novak do? He rebounds, he brings it up, he guards the four-man. Great job against Hummel tonight. Great job against Draymond Green. Knocks in big threes. Does everything.
He's 6'4". Off a curl, Hardaway. That shot looked better?
That shot looked much more comfortable, and it spun backwards. He had backspin on it because he snapped his wrist. It looked a ton better.
So you were reading the poor release off the edge of the finger by the rotation.
Yeah, by the rotation. When it spins like a globe, it's coming off the side. When you get normal backspin, it's coming off the middle three fingers.
I thought it was your x-ray vision. Battle for the rebound with Carroll, who had a takedown of Smotrich. And Carroll will be called for the Purdue foul.
Well, you're going to see this is a staple move of John Beal, a little wide down screen, just 1-2 step into it. You see the ball spinning backwards. On the three that he shot, the ball spun with side spin, which means it did not come off your hand straight. When the ball spins backwards, when it hits the rim, it kind of sucks into the basket. When it spins off of its side, it shoots itself out once it hits iron.
So you kids at home, you hear that? Watch the rotation of your shots. I'm hoping my son's listening.
It's true.
Let me take a free coaching tip from you. Some of those team fouls sneak by. 6-0. Michigan with no fouls. They only committed 3 fouls in the first half for the game we had last week against Michigan State. Burke got trapped, in trouble. It went out of bounds. It'll be Purdue ball on the other side of this timeout. Under 8. Michigan leading by 8. All right, Ravi, thank you. I know a lot of fans of Michigan will be listening to Ravi at halftime, talking about the big Tigers acquisition. Hey, what's going on with Hummel here tonight?
Well, they're guarding him, and they're guarding him hard. You see Stu Douglas thought he had a steal, but watch here when Hummel gives up the basketball. They're going to stay on top of Hummel, and then if somebody gets picked off, you see Trey Burks helping out. There's always going to be a crowd. Right there, Morgan takes a swing. Now, to Purdue's detriment, Hummel's working the post, and they reverse the ball to Kelsey Barlow for a shot, which is truthfully kind of silly. You hold the ball and you try to work Hummel's side, you exhaust that, then you reverse the ball to a non-shooter.
All right, let me take the coach's whistle off you now, Dan, and put those candy cane stripe IU player sweats back on. Robbie Hummel didn't score last game. He's 8 minutes without a shot.
Right there.
That's what you do. He needed one, right? It had to be on his mind.
It had to be. There's no question it had to be. But as a coach, Mike, you say, listen, you're our guy. You're 0 for 11. Fine. Don't care. We're going to show you what we think you're doing wrong. We're going to straighten it out. But you're our guy. We're going to keep going to you. So if you lack confidence, that's on you, not us.
Smotrich is free. He missed the three, and there's Hummel with a rebound. Isn't it amazing? You make a shot, and all of a sudden you show up in a lot of other places.
See, they should go right back to him.
Jackson got to step inside. Hummel waiting at the top, begging for it. That's okay. You'll take a Ryan Smith knockdown three, and it's a three-point game. And here comes the crowd in Mackey.
Lewis Jackson has played a nice last 4 or 5 minutes. He sensed that his team was dead, and he's going hard, creating for himself and for others.
Second little comeback here. Carlton Burnage has come in for Michigan. Freshman out of Southfield, Detroit suburb. Limited playing time this year. Drives the baseline inside. He's in trouble to tie up and a jump ball. They'll stay down here with Michigan. Check the Thursday night lineup. ESPN, ESPN2. We'll start with North Carolina State. Carolina with injury issues now to deal with. And then on ESPN2, terrific one here in the Big Ten is Indiana will take on Wisconsin.
Well, everybody was thinking Wisconsin was dead after a couple home losses. Not so much. Jordan Taylor, the player of the week in the Big Ten, coming on, as is Wisconsin. And it started right here in Mackey Arena with a win over Purdue. 3 straight losses for Wisconsin. Going to Mackey, tough task, but they got it done.
Bounds is knocked away from Hardaway. So Kuna came in for Michigan. Opportunity for Jerome Johnson to make it a 1-point game. He didn't convert. Wolverines come back the other way. Novak and Douglas settle it down. Kune hasn't played in a couple of games for the Wolverines. A little bit of a break for Trey Burke, who's been beaten, as you've mentioned, with the speed of Jackson. Inside Smotrich, good time to collect. Very patient layup by Evan Smotrich.
Well, we talked about Hummel getting a bucket inside, struggling. Smotrich has been struggling as well. 3 points a game over his last 3 games. A kid who's been around double figures all year. That's a good move for him. He missed a 3. Next time, go on the block, get a layup.
Jackson right past Akune, and he picks up the first Michigan foul of the game. What's the sarcastic cheer?
Well, we talked about it. Smotrich has been struggling. But off of a little bit of a mismatch, Tyrone Johnson gets caught in front. DJ Bird and Lewis Jackson late to rotate. When you see a mismatch and you're a defender, you've got to be in help side early. That time, Jackson and Bird were both there late. When you're late on a mismatch, it's going to be a bucket, a foul, or both.
Jackson again with the speed to the basket. He draws a second foul. So what a game Lewis Jackson, the senior, is playing here in the first half.
And he's just doing it by playing hard and attacking the basket. You see here Lewis Jackson gets it, just a little crossover, gets down the lane, and just jumps sideways enough to avoid a charge.
Dan, you referenced it earlier, the bad back that he has battled for over 2 months, including an MRI back in December. They were concerned that it was more than back-and-back spasms, that it could have been some sort of a stress fracture.
Well, he's been in pain. He rarely practices, and yeah, they thought he may have had a stress fracture. So right before Christmas, sent him for an MRI. That came back negative, but you can see with Lewis Jackson after plays how he is a little bit gimpy, kind of protective of his back.
You can see how he's feeling pretty good tonight. He's used speed. Trey Burke is very quick, and his defense has been lauded in his freshman season, but it has been a couple of quick trips by him. So other defenders have come in, and now as Jackson checks out and Kelsey Barlow checks in, Jackson usually doesn't take a seat on the bench. He'll stay on the floor to try to keep that back as comfortable as possible.
Well, as most people that have back problems know, you know, back is a 24/7 deal. I mean, it's you have to continue to stretch, ice, heat, whatever you need to do, you got to do.
See where Michigan goes for some offense. Hardaway out of the corner, and it's taken right out of his hands by Tyrone Johnson. Johnson on the push. Hummel. Alive by Douglas. Jordan Morgan running the floor. There comes Kelsey Barlow. Hummel again for 3. Great job to save it by Barlow off Akune. Every time Tim Hardaway got hit in the head in the transition back and forth.
Hummel missed that shot, but this is the second game in a row I've done at Purdue. That's the best looking stroke that he has put on a ball, both here and at Michigan State. He had a good snap too. He just happened to shoot it long coming down the court. He looked tentative, Mike. He was aiming the ball like a pitcher, you know, just trying to find the strike zone as opposed to just letting it go and releasing it.
That's in the Michigan State game?
Yeah, in the Michigan State game.
You and Dave were all over that.
I think they've got to just throw the ball to Hummel and let him make a play out of the block.
Got a screen there at the top. Rimmed out to 3. Good fight for the rebound. The foul call is Jacob Lawson got in there and got it, so quickly Michigan's gone from no fouls to 3. Stu Douglas picked that one up. That's his second. They're 5 fouls total. And there's Hummel with just that 1 field goal in 36 minutes of playing time. When he finally made it out of the timeout, it had been 33 minutes of playing time late in the second half of that Iowa game. He's missed 15 of his last 16 shots.
Well, I will tell you, Mike, if he keeps shooting the ball the way he shot the last 2, he's going to be all right in this game.
Purdue hanging around, have not played well, but Michigan's hit a dry spot. The defensive end for Purdue, hoping to get them climb back within 3.
He's going to get one right here.
Vogric just checked in the game, out defensively on Hummel. Shot clock at 13. Barlow worked it. Out of the corner, Hart at 2 is short.
That's a really good defensive possession by Michigan. Each guy was able to guard his own.
Nice job by a big Jordan Morgan to put on the brakes and not get the charge out of control. Burke back in the game, gets to the basket, and Trey Burke gets 2 to put Michigan back up 5.
You know, the scouting report on Burke is you have to keep him out of the lane, period. But that's easier said than done. He was so quick getting where he wanted to go.
Hardaway trying to draw the charge inside, didn't get it. And Jacob Lawson gets the 2.
See, even Lawson got the basket, but that possession was set up by Robbie Hummel doing what he's supposed to do, which is cut really hard. And when you cut hard, the defender on the screener has to help on you. And if you're a veteran, you'll go back and find the screener Hummel did there.
Baseline drive, Hardaway.
Tough shot. Tough shot, Tim Hardaway going down to the baseline, hanging in the air, making a college-type shot.
4 Michigan players over 4 points. They are usually a balanced scoring team, but Burke and Hardaway must carry them in the tight games. DJ Bird put it on the deck. Barlow's missed a couple, not really thinking about stroking one at that point. Students take the shot clock down. Lawson inside, and a blocking foul is going to be called. No basket, and we get the under 4 timeout.
Well, you're going to see Trey Burke come down the lane. And look how quick, right now, he gets in the lane. The scouting report is don't let him in the lane. Barlow reaching, not getting there, and then Hardaway taking it to the baseline, kind of a little leaner. I call that a college shot because you got to make it over people.
Who would you be talking about there, Ravi? Yeah, season ticket holders in Detroit, baseball happy. Your radio show today, a lot of Peyton Manning talk.
Well, Peyton Manning came out and said that it's a tough time now in 56th Street Colts complex. A lot of coaches fired, nobody in there. A lot of things going on, whether they're going to pay $28 million for Peyton by March 18th. It's going to be very interesting around the Colts complex.
There's Hummel trying to get hot and misses another one, so it's been a struggle for Robbie. And a foul on the rebound action, go against Purdue and send Michigan to the free throw line with 2.5 until the half. We have Villanova, Louisville in the Big East to start our Wednesday night hoops, presented by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and then we'll see Duke in their bounce back effort against Maryland. And you know the games are on ESPN, ESPN3, also streaming live on the WatchESPN.com and the Watch ESPN app. Hart with the foul, Morgan to the line for the front end of a 1-on-1. Mentioned your radio show and all the talk in Indianapolis, just 60 miles away, and came through Indy last night. The city is all set for the Super Bowl. The entire state has really turned out a great volunteer effort, as you would expect. So Giants and Patriots fans heading this way. You got some Midwest hospitality awaiting you, and both of these schools will be represented. Tom Brady, Zoltan Mesko among the Patriots who went to Michigan, Kudavitas, Matt White, Rob Ninkovich, the Boilermakers on that Pat squad as well.
You know, one of the things that people have always said, whether it's a Final Four, regional, whatever, now the Super Bowl, nobody hosts a big event like Indy. The town was built for it. They literally built downtown to host events, and Super Bowl is going to be spectacular.
A couple of Big Blue, a couple of Giant guys wore the maize and blue. David Boss, Mario Manningham as well. Inside at 2, Michigan leads by 7. It's been the Wolverines' lead most of this first half. And Vogrich gets it to Trey Burke. It's been a good battle with Burke and Jackson here tonight. Jackson's done a great job shutting Burke off the top. Did it again, got it out of his hands. Hardaway missed the 3. Let's see if Purdue can get a couple of hoops before the half.
What you saw right there was Purdue playing the scouting report. Everybody corralling Burke, not letting him in the lane.
Out of the corner, Hummel. There's 3. Robbie Hummel finally knocks down a 3.
And breathes a sigh of relief and has a smile on his face as he was running down the court. But his stroke looks good. He's going to be fine in this game.
So he made his first one, missed his next 4, bags that 3. Nice pitch. On the dive, Matt Vogrich and Jordan Morgan. I say over and over with you, Dan, the better he plays, the better Michigan plays as a team.
No question. He sets a high ball screen, Mike, and then he dives, and Burke creates so much attention on him. Morgan's going to be open, and it's a matter whether he's going to finish or make a play out of it.
Hummel on the rebound basket. He puts back in the Ryan Smith miss.
Yeah, that time Zach Novak did not put a body on Hummel. His head went up to watch the ball and the basket, and a much bigger Hummel went over top of him.
So the Boilermakers have their score back. Hummel has 7. And all Purdue players. 8-second difference, game and shot clock. Novak will drain it down. And Michigan will take the use it or lose it timeout here in the half. 4-point edge for John Beeline's team, number 22 in the poll. Back at Mackey Arena, boy, doesn't this place look great? A lot of renovations here, $100 million renovation. Concourse is expanded, fan amenities, student athletic development center. What a job they've done here.
Yeah, new practice facility, both for the men and the women. The weight room, I was up. Greg Gary, one of the assistant coaches, gave me a tour. And
I thought you were lifting before the game. I thought you were just getting a little...
I was lifting pizza in the press room.
Were you?
Yeah, it was pretty good, too.
Thanks. I missed that. We missed you for lunch today, you know? Yeah. I bought, you weren't here.
I usually buy.
Shot clock at 7. Hardaway out of the corner. Coming inside, finding Novak. Good patience for Novak. And a miss, but we got a bump. Gonna go the other way, Jordan Morgan. All for the foul, so Purdue, Dan, outplayed a good part of this half, can go in 2 or 1 down at the break. Yeah,
and I would expect here a little clear out right side for Lewis Jackson. Maybe a little double screen left. Lewis Jackson getting a little seam to the right with either Hummel or Tyrone Johnson sitting in the right corner.
Team foul on Michigan, screen coming on Burke. Jackson using the speed. Nice find of Hummel inside. Novak looking for space, got it off. And we get to the end of the half with Purdue within 2. And more importantly, Robbie Hummel's got his confidence back.
Yes, he does. You can see about halfway through the half, his jump shot changed. He started snapping his wrist. He did not let the ball come off the side. He was shooting it with confidence.
He scored the last 7 points for the Boilermakers. For the tight one in the Big Ten on a Tuesday night. Michigan within 2. And from renovated Mackey Arena, we send it to Carl Ravitch, UPS Halftime Report.
Someone is gonna pay, and if you can't get what you want, well, it's all because of me. With 1,000 eyes and a good day sky, see the lightning in your eye, see a rocket above that light.
Purdue only led by 1 once in the half. Michigan led by as many as 9. It's the Wolverines by 2 at the break. Welcome back to Mackey Arena. Mike Tirico, Dan Dockich. What's important here second half, Coach?
Well, Purdue has to find the scouting report, which is keep Trey Burke out of the lane. When they've managed to keep Trey Burke out of the lane, good things have happened for them defensively. For Michigan, it's Hardaway. Hardaway's a big-time second-half player. If you're going to win a conference road game, your best players have to play well. For Michigan, it's going to be Hardaway and Burke. For Purdue, it's going to be Jackson and Hummel.
And to your point, Robbie Hummel's such a strong finish to that first half after really going 36 minutes with 1 field goal at the end of the Iowa game. Nothing against Michigan State in the early part of this one. 7 of his 9 points in the last minute and a half. But you liked his confidence, Dan, the last 5 minutes of the first half.
I did. I liked his stroke. He really put a nice snap over his wrist. It's the first time in the 2 games that I've done here, the last 2, where he wasn't aiming and he was just shooting it, and good things happen when you just shoot it.
Lewis Jackson got past Burke again right to start the second half, but Novak with the defense at the rim helped deter him. Michigan comes back to start the second half. Same 5 that started the game. It's Hardaway to the basket. And a tip by Jordan Morgan.
Well, you mentioned Jordan Morgan. He was sensational against Arkansas, and he has been a 2-way player. He's done a great job walling off the lane on ball screens, and he's gone to the rim both running and offensive rebounding.
Tyrone Johnson out of control, and he's called for the travel.
This is what I'm talking about when we talk about Jordan Morgan. Watch, he's at the top of the key. Ball is driven, and you're going to see here he comes from the top of the key, beats everybody to the ball. He's done that for 2 games, either running the floor or getting from a high ball screen position at the top of the key to the offensive backboard.
Our statistician Pat McGrath points out it's first Purdue turnover in 13 minutes. They had turnovers their first 3 trips of the game, but were very good with the ball in the back end of that first half.
Yeah, because they started reversing the ball, and really that turnover was Tyrone Johnson just getting the ball and going. You cannot try to make a play from the one side. You got to reverse the ball, then make your move.
Burke trying to get that done on his own, could not. Here come the Boilermakers. Chelsea Barlow was out of the starting lineup here tonight. For just the second time this year, the sophomore Tyrone Johnson took his place. And Johnson and the other 4 Boilermakers that started the game get going here in the second half. Tough catch release, but Hummel draws the contact. And a guy who has been over his career a great free throw shooter, struggling a bit this year, comes to the line.
Hummel made a great cut. There's nobody that understands how to move without the ball better than Robbie Hummel. And Ryan Smith held onto the ball, waited for Hummel to make a cut, and then found him. And that's exactly how Purdue has to play this half. Exhaust all options relative to Hummel, and then look elsewhere.
You look at Hummel's stats, Dan, and say 78%. How can you say he's struggling? It's all relative. He's a guy who shot 90% a couple of years ago.
Mike, that's from Valparaiso High School. See the way Robbie holds the ball under his chin. Valparaiso High School, they teach that. A guy named Virgil Sweet back in the 60s, 70s started that. They pride themselves on being the best free throw shooting team in the nation every year in high school basketball.
Speaking of Indiana high school basketball, next dead ball, I got one I need to hear about from you. An unbelievable story. Got some national attention this week. Novak could find a Burke in the lane, able to keep it alive. And Novak's got a fresh clock. Hardaway ready for it. And there goes Mr. Second Half. Tim Hardaway Jr. has had 9 games this year, Dan. Double digits in the second half alone.
And that's right there an example of what makes Michigan so hard to play. They put such pressure on you from the three-point line.
Morgan with the block, but Hardaway the contact. He's going to be whistled for the foul.
Like you said it, you've been saying it all game. Lewis Jackson is just blowing by Trey Burke. It's the second time this half, and we're only a couple minutes in, that Lewis Jackson has just gone past him. This time, he's going to go to the foul line. First time the ball was blocked.
So as Jackson shoots these free throws, if you didn't hear this story, folks, this is Friday night. It was a snowy night here in the Midwest. South Dearborn High School down 29 points to East Central. East Central beat South Dearborn by 33 in the regular season. South Dearborn was 1-10. They're down 29 starting the fourth quarter. They go on a 30-0 run to win the game. They scored the last 30 of the game to win.
Mike, the kids for South Dearborn said, well, we were talking about the coach was going to make us run because we got beat so bad. So if we get beat by less, he won't make us run so much. And they ended up scoring 30 straight for the W.
That is unbelievable. Great story last Friday here in the hotbed of high school hoops. And there's Hardaway getting hot. Back-to-back baskets here in the second half for Tim, and the lead's a half dozen for the Maize and Blue.
Terrific offensive rebound by Tim Hardaway. But Travis Carroll for Purdue had to come over and block that shot. He just stood and watched as Hardaway went over and scored.
Jackson keeping it alive. Gets out to Tyrone Johnson. Ryan Smith has not been given space to shoot. Michigan knows the scouting report. That guy's a deadly three-point shooter. Had to do that one on the move. It's going to be called a jump ball. Jump ball, and the arrow pointing to Michigan.
Mike, you don't even have to watch. You don't have to watch the ball. If you don't see people move for Purdue and cut through a possession, it's a bad possession. They're not going to score. When you see guys cutting and screening for Hummel or for Ryan Smith, they're going to get something. They may miss, but they're going to get something. They did this against Michigan State. They hung on to the ball, and when you run motion, you've got to keep the possession going through 25 to 35 seconds.
Nice Novak feed Hummel to the spot. Matt Painter needs a timeout.
And Matt Painter's going to go crazy right here on Travis Carroll. You see Novak there. But watch Travis Carroll, who's guarding Jordan Morgan at the high post. His responsibility is the basket. Travis Carroll puts a hand out and goes back to a non-shooter, giving up the bucket.
Well, at that last timeout, I saw Akune from Ann Arbor came out from the Michigan locker room with his left foot in a walking boot as he was injured during the first half. He played a couple of minutes and was in there defensively in large part to stay with Lewis Jackson. And then Jackson came out and Akune went out, and I just assumed it was that, but he came down awkwardly on a foot of another player, injured his left foot. A young man from Gabriel Richard High School, not too far from the Chrysler Center in the big house there in Ann Arbor, in a walking boot. Best wishes to him. Tyrone Johnson missed the three out of the timeout. Back comes Novak in Michigan. Chance their largest lead of the game. It's Hardaway feeling it. 3 field goals in the half for Hardaway. And the Wolverines by 10.
And a great play by Zach Novak. Rebounded in the crowd, took it down, knew Hardaway is going, so found him in his sweet spot.
Where will Purdue go to get back in touch with the Wolverines here.
And there's Jordan Morgan walling it off.
Johnson threw it towards Lawson at the basket, who lost it out of bounds. And the second turnover this half for Purdue.
Jordan Morgan played 2 plays very quickly. He stopped the drive, corralled the ball handler, then reacted back to the postman, forced a turnover.
Dan, you make any of this start of the game, 14-5 Michigan, start of this half, 11-3?
Well, I think that's been Michigan's thing. You know, when they've started well, they've played well. Last week, Mike, we had a 10-2 start, Michigan over Michigan State. And now we fast forward to the Arkansas game. Arkansas is up 20 quick.
Morgan saw 3 people and is called for the travel.
And then let me tell you also why. That's the first time this half, now we're only 4 minutes into it, that Michigan has put themselves in a bad position offensively. Everything else has played to the strength of the individual, whether it's Novak finding Hardaway, Hardaway making a little move on the baseline. That's the first time there was something awkward involved.
Been 9 minutes since Michigan turned it over. Barlow tried to feed inside. He thought Lawson was getting free. Now Purdue, second best in the nation in terms of limiting their own turnovers. Having a tough start to the half. Hardaway, heat check. Cooled off. Anthony Johnson the rebound. Smith put it on the deck, pitched it to Barlow with Robbie Hummel at the top. Hummel got hot at the end of the half. Watched by Novak, couple of seniors here. Hardaway with the defensive help, and shot clock still with 13. Hummel put it on the deck. Good defense by Novak. Purdue, 5 minutes, no field goals in this second half. Burke comes back the other way with that Morgan screen to the top. And we'll have a foul on Purdue. And Wolverine ball on the other side of this timeout. Tough start to the half. Well, tonight it's the State of the Union in Washington, D.C. And Barack Obama is going to be actually in Ann Arbor on Friday. While many people are focused on him, a lot of us are stopping to hear what the unofficial mayor of the Big Ten, Dan Dockich, thinks of the state of the league at this moment.
Well, Ohio State, you talk to anybody, certainly the most talent, a little bit up and down, but when they win big. 35-point win at Nebraska. Indiana's resurgence has been good for the league. By all accounts, you see the wins there. Minnesota and Wisconsin, 2 teams that were kind of dead and buried, got themselves going with road wins. Minnesota at Indiana and Wisconsin here in West Lafayette. And you see the parity, waiting to see who is going to emerge out of a very packed-in Big Ten. This game will go a long way to deciding a little bit of that. 5 teams in the top 25, the coaches poll. 9 teams in the top 50 of the most recent RPI, including Purdue, sitting right at 50. But the Boilermakers going to need some wins here. It's 14-6, 4-3 in the league, and not a sparkling resume out of the conference. Good defense here, shot clock at 8. Matt Painter was on his guys in the timeout, and they give you a good defensive effort. Come away with the ball for the moment, but Trey Burke put it on the baseline, so it is Purdue ball. And a chance for the Boilermakers to get their first field goal this second half. Well, Kelsey Barlow has not been good offensively. He's thrown the ball away, and quite frankly, he's looked a little disinterested. But defensively right there, he got after. Now he's going to be taken out for Lewis Jackson. But down the stretch, when they need defense, both Jackson and Barlow will be in there, because that was terrific by Barlow.
Jordan Morgan comes out, so Michigan's smaller. Smotrich is in. Let's see if Purdue can get it inside. Again, not a great post presence for the Boilermakers either.
No, but they need to drive the ball here. Michigan will switch probably every ball screen here, but they just need to take it right at Smotrich.
Oh, good pop. Hummel, 3. Great idea. Involve those 2 seniors, one who can turn the corner, one who can knock it down.
Yeah, and again, Hummel's stroke looks much better. It is an absolute different stroke he has made since the Michigan State game, where, again, he was aiming things.
Smotrich at the top. He knocks down a very big 3. So Evan Smotrich, the sophomore, who had gone 0 for 10 on 3-pointers over the last few games, able to get another one. He has 7 on the night.
Hey, he was surprised it went in.
Hummel, just a shot fake. And on the rebound, we get a call here on Michigan.
That was a really good play by Stuart Douglas. They went to the same high ball screen, Jackson and Hummel was going to be open. Douglas, guarding in the right-hand corner, recognized it, came, challenged Hummel, made him put it on the floor.
First foul on Smotrich of the Wolverines. 3 team fouls on Michigan here in the half, and that's a big knockdown of a 3 for Ryan Smith, who hits about 3 of those per game. As sweet a stroke as anyone in the conference.
A little screen-to-screener action, Mike. Ryan Smith set a screen, then came off Robbie Hummel.
Back at 7, Douglas put it on the baseline. And now the fans get more involved here at Mackey Arena.
Now, just watch how many times the guy who dribbles the ball down the floor without giving it up and getting it reversed makes a turnover. It's almost automatic if you try to make a play without getting the ball reversed.
Almost hit a shot. Smith has hit a shot. See if they can keep them hot. Smith out of the corner.
That was really smart.
Anthony Johnson using the speed to get inside. And again, without Jordan Morgan in there, there's nobody to deter.
That's so smart going to the rim. We talked about Stuart Douglas cheating to Jackson, or cheating to Hummel. Jackson found in the corner and forced Michigan to rotate.
That was a good timeout, don't you think?
Yep, gotta have it.
The Boilermakers coming back. Purdue within 5.
I don't know how you're going to miss this. Anthony Johnson's going to drive, and right there he steps out of bounds. There are certain calls for officials that are just straight easy, and that is one of them.
This Johnson, as he came on that baseline, helping cut the deficit to 5. Tomorrow night, here's the lineup on ESPN. Villanova, Louisville. You know, Villanova lost 5 out of 6, but they've won back-to-back games. Duke at Maryland, Arcturgeon. You know, the atmosphere in College Park, the old Cole Fieldhouse, and then the new Comcast Center. It's always just ratcheted up a little bit more when all Scott Van Pelt's buddies at Maryland see the Dukies come to town. So they'll be all fired up for that. It's the doubleheader for you on the network here tomorrow night.
When Duke loses, it's like talked about for a month. It's unbelievable.
And they're so good so often. Morgan remains on the bench here for Michigan. Trey Burke lost Jackson with the help of a screen, but lost the ball too. It was deflected out of bounds. Last touch by Purdue, 12 on the shot.
Well, this is where, if you're a senior, which Lewis Jackson is, you just have to take Burke out of the game. He can't be a factor here against you.
Hardaway cutting in. Anthony Johnson with the foul. It's a good job by Ryan Smith. Settled down, the redshirt freshman out of Chicago's Whitney Young High School.
We had a pretty good angle. Actually, we had a perfect angle for Anthony Johnson. And I gotta tell you, that was all ball.
Tim Hardaway Jr. comes to the line. Short on the first. I asked John Beeline. Let's watch this again.
And we had a pretty good look. Right there, you see Anthony Johnson just reaching in. I thought they might call a foul on Lewis Jackson as kind of a bailout, but the referee really didn't have a good angle to see what Johnson was doing.
Hardaway split the pair. He's got 14, 8.5. I asked John Beeline if with the emergence of Trey Burke offensively, if there was any friction or any problems with Hardaway. He said not at all. They've been great about it. And Tim knows second half when he gets hot, Burke will tee him up. Look at Jackson moving at the top. Lewis sizing up Stu Douglas. DJ Bird was closed out on quickly by Smotrich. At 10, Jackson step back, big arch. They list him at 5'9". He's shorter than that, but he knocked down a big one.
That's just a guy feeling it. Bad offensive possession, but he just faded away, lifted up, knocked it in over the 6'8" Smotrich.
Set play called by John Beeline. Burke, nice flash by Smotrich, who set the screen and got to the goal.
Well, Purdue has not figured that move out yet. Earlier in the game, it was Jordan Morgan setting that screen and diving. What has to happen here, Purdue's going to have to live or die with Stuart Douglas in the right-hand corner making a jump shot, because his man is going to have to get in the lane and help on the high ball screen.
Smith asking for the ball. Senior out of Toledo, Ryan Smith. Douglas, quick hands. Jackson keeps it alive. Shot clock at 8. Jackson bumped as he was trying to get toward the paint, and a foul is called on Michigan's Stu Douglas.
A couple weeks ago, Mike, you and I had Brandon Paul shooting the ball about 18 feet in the air. You see Lewis Jackson doing it there. Now here's the high middle ball screen. Stuart Douglas's man right there, 24. Ryan Smith's got to come over earlier.
All right, Ravi, thank you. Get you down to the SEC after we're done here on Super Tuesday presented by KFC in the Big Ten. Mike Tirico, Dan Dockich. Michigan is led by as many as 9. Purdue has tightened a couple of times, within a half dozen. Purdue wins. These teams will have the identical records. Good move by Jackson. Great coming to the right. Boy, he looks so quick here tonight, Dan.
He has gone, every time he's wanted to, he has gone right past Burke every single time. And which is a little bit shocking, Mike, because Burke is equally as quick. But Jackson just taking it out.
And Burke is struggling on the offensive end because of Jackson's presence. Just 1 of 5 for the freshman, averaging 17 a game the last 5. Now he's got Hummel. Now he's going to take a 3. It's off the mark, rebounded by Anthony Johnson. Purdue, the better of play last few minutes. We come across the halfway mark of this second half. Bird for 3. Got it! 1-point game. At 10, good split by Hardaway. Floater, no. Hummel the rebound. Here comes Purdue for the lead. Only led once all night. Jackson turned away by Burke. Anthony Johnson flashing. Got the bang. Got the bucket. Boilermakers on top.
Great flash by Anthony Jackson. You can't see it, Anthony Johnson, excuse me, but Anthony Johnson was left side top of the key. And you're going to see right here he comes. Smotrich late getting over. The rule of thumb, when the ball's below the foul line and you're in help side, put your head under the basket. Smotrich out of position. Jackson took advantage of it for a 3-point play.
Smotrich, rather Johnson, who took the red shirt last year to get his body bigger for the rigors of the Big Ten. Right along the free throw. Biggest lead of the game for Purdue. It's 2. And Jackson with the bad back, who's led this comeback for the Boilermakers, doesn't sit on the bench to keep that back as loose as possible.
Yeah, I like what Matt Painter's doing, switching Barlow and Jackson on the Trey Burke, just give him a different look.
Burke penetrates, trying to find Smotrich. Deflected out by Purdue. 17 on the shot.
Let's have a look. Looked like Johnson's hand may have been in there.
Hardaway coming baseline, tough shot. Hummel had the rebound taken away by Tyrone Johnson. Purdue has hit 6 in a row to take the lead. And Hummel's not been a huge part of it in terms of scoring.
No, but he set screens. He's been a ball reverse guy. He's been a cutter.
Couldn't make the catch. Smotrich on the dive. It's last touched by Evan. And it'll be Purdue ball, 17 to shoot.
Well, that last possession down on the other end, Kelsey Barlow made a great play. He was going away. Saw the drive, came back, influenced Hardaway's shot.
Dan, since Jordan Morgan's been out, it's been more of Purdue, more comfortable on offense.
There's no question about it. Jordan Morgan has huge influence corralling this play right here. Right here on the high ball screen. Jordan Morgan is terrific, and he's also good at getting back and corralling the next play.
Hummel! 17-3 run Purdue. Michigan timeout to their feet in Mackey Arena. This place has been a house of horrors for the Wolverines. They have struggled mightily in Mackey Arena over the last half dozen years, lost 6 consecutive games, and Matt Painter's 7-3 against Michigan. And his senior, Lewis Jackson, turned this game around.
He did. Purdue started out very sluggish. I thought the crowd was out of it. The team was slow, getting up and down. Then Lewis Jackson, first half, here you see it, just started going harder than everybody else on the court, and his teammates have responded. He did this not necessarily at the start of the second half, but he's been getting to the lane, basically getting anywhere he wants to go, particularly with Jordan Morgan out.
Yeah, Morgan only has 1 foul. He played a lot of hard minutes the game against Arkansas on Saturday, turned around on a Tuesday, and that was a much more of an up-tempo game than Michigan normally plays, so maybe a little bit of tired legs.
I don't buy it. They're 20 years old. He's a sophomore, redshirt sophomore. Just play. He plays more in the summertime. I don't understand it, as you said. 1 foul, that's it. And he's been sitting out during this run.
Lewis Jackson awaits, gets an extra rest here at the under 8 timeout. Evan Smotrich turned away. Douglas and Novak, the seniors, have been quiet. When Michigan needs a good possession, they're usually involved. Douglas put it on the deck. Hummel with 2 hands on him, and it'll be a foul on Robbie on the other side of this timeout.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jordan Morgan is politicking his coaches to get back in there on the bench.
Put me in, coach.
Ready to play.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by KFC. Bring something different to the party with KFC sauceless hot wings, now just 50 cents each. And in part by Lexus and their pursuit of perfection.
Back in West Lafayette, 40,000 students, 30,000 undergrads, so many great astronauts, including Neil Armstrong among the alums. Purdue history. Boilermakers lead by 4, and Jordan Morgan's gone to the table. He's ready to come back in the game.
He was working his assistant coaches hard. John Beeline at the timeout was working the officials. But then when he turned around, he saw Morgan basically pleading with him. And he put him back in. Purdue's going to go with Travis Carroll against Morgan. Morgan's been a big-time difference in this game. And him being out has made Purdue relax, find something comfortable in their offense, which is a little high screen, roll, replace action.
And there's the turnaround. 6 straight field goals for Purdue on a 17-3 run. Michigan not getting many good looks on the offensive end. Recycle the shot clock after the foul on Hummel, which was the 3rd on Purdue. Michigan 5-team fouls. Trey Burke finds Hardaway. Hummel there for help. Anthony Johnson and Carroll as well. It's a jump ball, and the arrow sends it down Purdue's end.
Hardaway came into the lane, and Robbie Hummel did a great job of crowding things, putting Hardaway in a position where he couldn't control the ball, couldn't get a shot.
Nice minutes for Anthony Johnson. He goes back to the bench as well as both Lewis Jackson and Ryan Smith come back in. Michigan was up 7 when Morgan went out, so Purdue made up 11 points in that stretch without 52 in Mason Blue. As Morgan's presence making it tougher for Jackson to turn the corner, but it's tipped in by Carroll. They'll wave it off for offensive interference.
Remember, just a part of the ball has to be on the rim, and right there clearly you can see a quarter of the basketball is on the rim or inside the cylinder.
Paul Jansen had that call from the outside, did a nice job, the official. We get to 7 minutes, and it's been over 4 since Michigan has scored until Morgan changes it.
Now again, Stuart Douglas's man, in this case it was Tyrone Johnson, didn't get into the middle of the lane. This has hurt Purdue all game when Morgan has been a high ball screen, dive the ball screen of Morgan. Purdue's got the live or die with Stuart Douglas making a shot.
Again, Jackson unable to turn the corner. He dribbled it off his leg. It's Michigan ball.
Again, that's the influence of Jordan Morgan. Here you're going to see Jordan Morgan right here. He's going to dive. This is where the help has to come from. Late getting there, late.
We're talking about good offensive spacing.
And that's where they hurt you because the guys on the weak side, Douglas and Novak, can both shoot.
A great decision to find Douglas. He got a three. Stu Douglas out of the corner, and the Wolverines take the lead. Timeout, Matt Painter. And how about Morgan? 4 possessions. He had an impact on all 4.
Both ends. I mean, he is the difference in this basketball game when he's been in. Purdue's been, I would say, they're probably, Michigan's probably plus 14.
With Morgan on the floor.
With Morgan off the floor, Purdue has had a much easier time. Here's Morgan again. Same thing, ball screen. You're going to see Morgan dive to the basket. He dives, there's your help. They're going to have to live and die with Stuart Douglas making or missing a shot. Douglas made, Purdue or Michigan leads.
Well, Thursday night we got more Big Ten action. ACC gets us started on ESPN. Harrison Barnes and Carolina hosting NC State. Then over on ESPN2 as the X Games get started here on ESPN. We've got Indiana, Wisconsin. A great matchup. 2 teams in the upper half of the Big Ten. Matchup there, Dan, offense against defense.
Well, Indiana has really struggled. Last in the Big Ten defensively, both defensive field goal percentage and defensive points per game. Wisconsin, as we said earlier, really found themselves here in West Lafayette, beating Purdue a week or 2 ago.
Another one. That's DJ's second 3.
This is like both teams are running the same offense. High ball screen for the shooter in the corner. Whoever makes the most threes in the corner is going to win the game.
Burke having a tough night. Takes the 3. Missed that one. Trey Burke, 1 of 7 for Michigan here tonight. Coming off his 13-point game against Arkansas. Purdue shooting 64% in the second half. Jackson around everybody again. Lead back to 4. Burke tries to make him pay on the offensive end and finally able to get one to go.
Well, both point guards are just handling the ball, just going to the rim and scoring. Pretty easy, really. Now you're going to see a 1-3-1. I'm sorry, it's a 2-3 by Michigan. Middle down to the baseline.
And Hummel finds Jackson to the basket again.
That's something you don't see much, Mike. Point guard on the baseline against a 2-3 zone. High low to the point guard.
Gets the 1-3-1. It's different. You got the small guy back there. You can go at him.
Right.
Under 5. Purdue leads by 4. Good hedge out there by Hummel. Hardaway. Got them all. A 3 for Tim Hardaway Jr.
That was bad defense by Tyrone Johnson. Tim Hardaway was sitting in his favorite spot, left wing, and Tyrone Johnson did not come close out on him. Jackson's hurt.
Yeah, Jackson limping over towards the Purdue bench as Anthony Johnson's up quick. We talk about all the back problems Jackson's had over the last couple of years. That time.
Like he got hit.
Knee. Did he get a knee?
He got hit on the high ball screen. He did it early in the possession. You're going to see it right. There, he kind of got hit. Now you're going to see him limp for the remainder of the possession.
Out of the corner, Anthony Johnson right off the bench to the basket. Couldn't finish. And that stops a 9-straight field goal make stretch for Purdue. Burke trying to turn the corner, and the hand by Tyrone Johnson kept him from doing that, and that's why that foul was called.
Fans don't like it, but as you said, Trey Burke was getting ready to turn the corner. Tyrone Johnson reached in with both hands right in front of the official.
2 on Tyrone, 14 fouls Purdue, 5 on Michigan. Bad inbounds by Burke, but boy, he got a break. And Douglas gets the hoop to give Michigan another lead. Jackson getting some ice on that leg where he bumped into Morgan. Now Painter just checks, see if he's going to get his point guard back. 3 for the lead. Again, it's Smith from the outside.
We said it earlier, high ball screen with Hummel. Stuart Douglas had been cheating it. They found the shooter. Smith second time for a 3.
Matt Painter pumps his fist, trying to fire up his defense. Burke all the way to the basket for the freshman, tied at 61.
Trey Burke just stayed lower than Robbie Hummel. Hummel didn't get his shoulders squared to Burke. You don't get your shoulders squared to Burke, he's going to beat you.
First tie of this game. Johnson turned the corner. Morgan hit him hard. He's fouled. He's coming back to the line. Both teams trading punches. Been a couple of threes from the outside for Ryan Smith, one of the best strokes of the league. The freshman Burke with a response. Another tight one. It's how we roll on Tuesday nights in the Big Ten. All even at 61. All right, Brad Nessler, Brad and Jimmy Dykes will have #1 Kentucky coming up after we're done on Super Tuesday, presented by KFC. All even at 61 here in West Lafayette. Mike Tirico, Dan Dockich, and Coach Lewis Jackson back in there after taking that knee to the lower leg area a moment ago.
Yeah, there's no way he's sitting this out. I mean, he's been too important, too valuable, and too tough over his career.
Jerome Johnson misses that first free throw. It's almost sacrilege to say for a team in this state that Purdue's a bad free throw shooting team. 63%, bottom of the league.
Particularly this guy. This guy's at 35%. I saw him in high school, and he was not a bad free throw shooter. Looks very uncomfortable at the line, but got 1 of 2.
19 of 55 now on the season. Thinking big picture, Purdue only has 14 fouls. Michigan 6. Trey Burke, Tim Hardaway work with Stu Douglas, Zach Novak, Jordan Morgan. Hardaway's had another good second half. Worked inside on Johnson to get the basket.
Well, he just went right at him. Johnson stronger, but Hardaway just took it to him and using his leverage, kept a good base and just dominated Tyrone Johnson there.
You see the 5 on the floor for Purdue, led by this senior point guard. Lewis Jackson's had some kind of night. He's off the mark. Johnson inside. Keeps it alive. Bird out of the corner. Couldn't get the bounce on the 3. Jordan Morgan the rebound at 2:27 to go.
You know, if you're Purdue, you might think about trapping this high ball screen, getting the ball out of Trey Burke's hand. You have a bigger guy in Robbie Hummel right here. There you go.
Good call, Coach. Burke keeps the dribble alive, and a foul is called. Matt Painter wanted a 5-second on Burke dribbling out top.
I think sometimes referees, when there's a high ball screen coming, they forget about the 5-second count. You're going to see here 1,001, 1,002, 3, 4. Maybe. I think they just forget about it when they see a high ball screen coming. They figure action's going to happen within 5 seconds anyway. But that was great defense by Jackson and Hummel.
Team foul 5 for Purdue. Side out for the Maize and Blue. 2 minutes to go in regulation. Burke wants it. Squeezed inside. Couldn't get it. And on the rebound, Morgan's going to be called for the foul. Look out as Morgan and Jackson exchange shoves and glances. 3 on the Michigan center, Jordan Morgan. And free throws coming for Purdue.
Well, I'm anticipating somebody going to the scorer's table and reviewing. That's what happens in college basketball. Every time there's a scrum, but that's just 2 guys getting after it. Morgan plays hard. Jackson plays hard.
We got a 1-and-1 coming here now. The officials getting together, and they may be talking about exactly what you just said, Dan. Do they need to come take a look at it?
They do not. They should look over at us, Mike, and you and I will both say, we'll wave at them. Play on.
Well, you like the idea of the rule in its entirety.
Yes.
But it feels like every game we get one of these.
No, it doesn't feel like every game. It is every game. There's nothing here. It's just guys playing basketball.
This at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with that. You're good with that?
I'm great with that.
So am I. And so are these guys. They did a nice, quick job to look at it.
They did.
One of the problems I've noticed in watching games on our family of networks, a lot of times those replays are done in slow motion. The guys are looking at slow motion. You've got to go back and look at that full speed to really get a sense of intent.
And as a referee or as a player, when you're as close as I believe Pat Driscoll was the referee right there, you're going to know what the intent was. Now, it really kind of starts right there with the push. So 21's going to the line, and it finishes with, you know, kind of a, I don't know, a little square dance move.
You're not going to hold my arm down.
A little
Jackson to the line.
dozy-do, and away we go.
Oh. Gets the front end of that one. And we're tied at 63.
A lot of dramatics out of Jackson for making that free throw. He walked all the way back to half court. Looked like he got punched in the eye. He's got to regroup here and knock this one in. Pretty good.
Purdue leads inside of 2 minutes to go here in West Lafayette. Jackson with Burke every step of the way as he tried to speed him to the left. Now Zach Novak's out there to set the screen. Pitch to Novak, the senior, back in Indiana. Bounce to Morgan for the flush.
Great drive to his left hand. Lewis Jackson lost Novak for a second, and then on recovery, again, he forgot the scouting report, which is Novak goes left, keep him out of the lane.
He is a lefty. One timeout left for Purdue as Painter stops it here at 1:22.
Big moment of the game. Barlow and Jackson had switched. You see Jackson kind of loses Novak, then over recovers, lets Novak get to the middle of the lane, help up, dunk. You should see Robbie Hummel helps up towards the ball. You can't help up. You have to fake at the ball and make the driver shoot a jump shot.
While we have a second, here's Carl Ravitch to the studio. Ravi?
Hi, Michael. Hopefully our second game can mirror the first one. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope coming off a game in which he, as a freshman, scored 25 in a loss to Ole Miss. Georgia, 1-4 in conference. Kentucky, 5-0. SEC showdown coming up. Vandy having their way with Tenney. They're up by 20 on ESPNU.
Okay, Carl, thank you. Reset the game here. Michigan over the limit, 17 fouls, 2 timeouts. Purdue has 1, and the arrow points toward Michigan. DJ Bird joining Robbie Hummel and Ryan Smith, 3 very good shooters, to go with Jackson, the point guard, and Tyrone Johnson. Hummel for 3. Halfway down, wouldn't fall. Tyrone Johnson chased it down and got pushed by Hardaway. Free throws with 68 seconds to go.
Really good move out of the timeout by Matt Painter. Robbie Hummel came over and slipped the side ball screen. It was the second screen of the possession. Missed a pretty good look. Purdue fans cheered when the foul was called, but you're talking about a guy right here who's a 38% free throw shooter, 34% on the year.
19 of 55 on the season. It's that first one. Look at Hummel go up to try to get it, but Jordan Morgan took it away. Michigan by 1, final minute. Beeline trying to tell Burke to wait and be patient, but he went all the way to the basket, got trapped inside, and turned it over. Beeline wanted his freshman to hang on, and he pushed it. Now Jackson back for the lead for Purdue. Out to Barlow.
A good time.
Painter, yeah, takes his last one. You know, you love your freshman. He's the 4-time freshman of the week in the Big Ten. Trey Burke has done so many good things, but understanding situational basketball burned him a little bit there, don't you think?
Yeah, he could have made that drive later on in the possession. That's what they've been doing this entire second half. And he just went too quick, got himself caught up. Turnover, now it's Purdue's opportunity.
All right, play the clock. We're at 40.1. Purdue's down 1. You want to go for something very early here in the clock, or you want to get your best?
Yeah, I think you want to get your best, and your best is a high ball screen with Lewis Jackson going to the right side. DJ Bird, probably, or Ryan Smith, will be on that side. Ball screen coming from Hummel. That's been their most effective weapon today. Ball screen with Hummel. Let Jackson go. If they help and they force and they stop the ball, throw it back to Hummel and play out of it.
And Dan, you got Michigan sitting on 8 fouls. So if they foul, not in the act, it's 1-1. I want to take you through the half-dozen losses here for Purdue. And look at the free throw shooting, and they've already missed a couple of front ends here tonight.
Well, this has been a problem for Purdue all year. The Xavier loss was particularly galling because while they were missing free throws, they had a 19-point lead.
Yes.
They were fouling in the backcourt, and Xavier was going to the line on the other end without having to use any clock. Question for Matt Painter is, do you keep Tyrone Johnson in the game? He's a 34% free throw shooter. He's just missed. You have Anthony Johnson available, maybe Barlow, along with Ryan Smith, DJ Bird.
Purdue has the win over Illinois on New Year's Eve in here by 15. Out of the league, they had a nice win in Puerto Rico over Iona and Temple, but they don't have the great wins as we get here towards the end of the month. Meantime, Michigan's looking for its first win on somebody else's campus, first true road win. That's what's at stake here in the final 40 seconds. Boilermaker ball, Jackson pitched in the corner. It'll be Smith. Rimmed it out. Hummel tip, no. It comes to the ground. Who's getting it? Purdue. Shot clock is off. Boilermakers down 1. They've got no timeouts. It plays out on the floor.
Good move by Trey Burke, making Jackson go to his left.
There is Jackson coming left. Morgan picks him up. Here's Hummel for 3 in the lead. No, it was off. The rebound for Hardaway, and Purdue fouls, but they're not over the limit. So with 9.5 to go, that should be just the 6th foul on Purdue. Michigan ball here in the backcourt.
Lewis Jackson loves to go right, Mike. And they set it up on previous in the possession, go right. They found Ryan Smith for a wide open look. Trey Burke just jumped it, made Jackson go to his left, and discombobulated the entire play.
There'll be a timeout taken by Michigan. They have 1 left. And Dan, just like last Tuesday against Michigan State, a lengthy possession where Michigan had to defend a couple of different times, and in scramble situations, they've done a good job defending here late in the game.
They have. Ryan Smith got a really nice look. Robbie Hummel's look was just okay, a little bit off balance, but as we said, Trey Burke made a terrific adjustment mid-possession to force Jackson to his left. Now, Mike, if you're Michigan, you know, this is going to sound real obvious, but not so easy. You have to get the ball inbounds. Purdue's going to switch things, so look for the man that they want to get the ball. Either Burke, Novak, setting a screen, coming back to the ball, slipping the screen.
See the standings. Ohio State and Michigan meet on Sunday. Michigan trying to stay at the top of the Big Ten. Stu Douglas has the inbounds. And not off a make, so he can't move the baseline. He's stationary in that spot, making it tougher to inbound with Hummel trying to distract. Get it to Burke. Returned it to Douglas. They couldn't get the foul at 5 seconds. Great job of keeping away. Smotrich is fouled with 3.8 to go, and some key seconds lost there. And a 73% shooter, Evan Smotrich, is coming to the line.
And Mike, that's what happens when you put a guy on the ball. Stu Douglas was taking the ball out of bounds, and he was being guarded. So instead of playing 5 against 4, you're playing 4 against 4. Inbound the ball, guy comes a trap, court spread.
Evan Smotrich, who was in the starting lineup, out the last 3 games. His minutes have gone down, and he's not a big free throw guy anyway. He has only gone to the line 7 times in the last 7 Michigan games, but he's a very good shooter. And of course, Purdue has no timeout, so they're going to have to do it on the fly here. Matt Painter's been drawing it up. It is 1-1, up 1 for Smotrich. Made it. Up 2.
Question becomes here, if he knocks this one in on the inbounds, do you foul immediately if you're Michigan for the 3-point game?
Michigan's going to sub. Smotrich missed it. Hummel picks it up. 3 to go. Hummel on the deck. Pitched it ahead. Jackson for 3 in the wind. It's off the window. No good. And Michigan gets a road win coming into West Lafayette for the first time in 7 years and beating Purdue 66-64. No field goals for the Boilermakers in the final 4 minutes, and they had that great run where they hit 10 field goals in the second half. They missed their last 6 shots to close the game. And the sequence here at the end, Smotrich with the miss. Hummel did a good job waiting to get it, and Jackson put up a prayer and was off the mark. And the Purdue Boilermakers, who were in need of a victory, fall to 14-7, 4-4 in the league. Michigan now 16-5, 6-2 in the conference, and the Wolverines get through a very tough stretch of a lot of games in a short period of time with another win. They'll go to Columbus, take on the Buckeyes on Sunday. Tim Hardaway had 13 in the second half to lead Michigan with 19. Our final score tonight, Wolverines win 66-64. With Dan Dockich, Mike Tirico, and our entire crew, this is a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Here's Carl Rabbit.